Have you ever walked through a park in the fall? You see leaves everywhere. They are red, yellow, and brown. They crunch under your feet. It's a beautiful sight. But have you ever stopped to wonder what happens to all those leaves after they fall from the trees? Where do they all go? Do they just disappear? Nature has a fascinating process for cleaning up. And honestly, it's happening all around us, all the time. It's a slow, quiet, and incredibly important job. We decided to bring this process indoors to watch it up close. We wanted to see the secret life of a fallen leaf. So we started a simple experiment. We wanted to trap a piece of autumn and watch it change over time. The idea was to collect a handful of freshly fallen leaves and seal them inside a glass jar. What would happen to them over 100 days? Would they stay the same? Would they turn to dust? Or would something else entirely happen? This experiment is like creating a tiny world in a bottle. It lets us peek into one of nature's most essential cycles without having to wait for seasons to change. We get a front row seat to the magic of decomposition, right on our windowsill. The setup was easy. We went outside on a crisp autumn day. The air was cool and the ground was a carpet of color. We gathered a variety of leaves. Some were bright yellow maple leaves, still soft and flexible. Others were sturdy brown oak leaves, already a bit dry and curled at the edges. We made sure to pick leaves that were different shapes and sizes. This variety would make our little world more interesting. We wanted to see if a tough oak leaf would change differently than a delicate maple leaf. We were ready to begin our journey. Our jar became a time capsule. Its mission was to hold these leaves for over 3 months. By sealing the jar, we were creating a closed environment. Very little air could get in or out. This is different from what happens to leaves on the forest floor. Out there, they are exposed to wind, rain, insects, and animals. Our jar would protect the leaves from all of that. It would show us a different kind of change, one driven only by the tiny organisms already on the leaves and the moisture trapped inside with them. We placed the jar on a shelf, and the waiting game began. On day 1, our jar was a vibrant display of autumn's best colors. The leaves were pressed against the glass, a mosaic of fiery reds, sunny yellows, and deep, earthy browns. They still looked fresh, as if they had just fallen from their branches. You could see the delicate veins running through each leaf. If you were to touch them, they would feel waxy and slightly damp. There was a sweet, earthy smell, the classic scent of a fall day. We made sure the lid was screwed on as tightly as possible. This was important to trap the moisture and limit the air inside. After the first few weeks, around day 20, we noticed the first signs of change. The bright colors started to fade. The brilliant yellows and reds became duller, turning into muted shades of tan and brown. The leaves also began to lose their shape. They slumped down in the jar, no longer pressed so firmly against the glass. Droplets of water or condensation appeared on the inside of the jar. This was the moisture being released from the leaves themselves. The air inside the jar started to smell less like a fresh fall day and more like damp soil after a rainstorm. By the halfway point, day 50, the transformation was dramatic. Most of the leaves were now a uniform dark brown color. They had lost their individual shapes and were starting to clump together in a damp mass at the bottom of the jar. The condensation on the glass was more noticeable, sometimes running down the sides in small streams. If you looked very closely, you could see fuzzy white and gray patches appearing on the surface of the leaf pile. This was mold, one of nature's primary decomposers, starting to do its work. The smell had also changed, becoming stronger and more musty. As we approached the end, around day 80, the contents of the jar looked nothing like the leaves we started with. The mass at the bottom was darker and more compact. It was difficult to tell where one leaf ended and another began. They had broken down into smaller, unrecognizable fragments. The pile had shrunk significantly, taking up much less space in the jar than it did at the beginning. The fuzzy mold had spread, covering more of the surface. The jar was a humid, miniature world of decay, a stark contrast to the colorful collection we had sealed inside months earlier. On day 100, the experiment was complete. We opened the jar. A strong, earthy, and damp smell filled the air like a deep forest floor. It wasn't a bad smell, but it was the powerful scent of decomposition. Inside, the vibrant leaves were gone. In their place was a dark, crumbly, and soil-like substance. It was wet to the touch, almost like mud. You could still see a few tough veins and stems from the sturdier oak leaves, but most of the leaf material had broken down completely. The beautiful colors of autumn had been transformed into the rich, dark color of new earth. Let's compare the beginning and the end. At the start, we had individual leaves, each with a unique shape, color, and texture. They were light and dry enough to flutter in the wind. After 100 days in the sealed jar, we had a single damp clump of organic matter. The structure was gone. The colors were gone. The texture was no longer papery but soft and mushy. The leaves had been deconstructed piece by microscopic life. It was amazing to see how much could change in just over 3 months, all within the small, closed world of our glass jar. The changes were not just in appearance, but in substance. The leaves lost their identity. A maple leaf and an oak leaf, once very different, had become part of the same dark material. This process is happening everywhere in nature, but it's usually hidden from our view. It happens under piles of leaves in the woods or in the soil of our gardens. Our jar simply gave us a window into this hidden world. It showed us that fallen leaves don't just disappear, they are actively broken down and changed into something new. This change is a vital part of life's cycle. What we created in our jar is a simple form of compost. We witness nature's recycling program in action. The leaves, which once took nutrients from the soil to grow, were now on their way to becoming nutrient-rich soil themselves. This process ensures that nothing is wasted in nature. The materials that make up one living thing are broken down so they can be used to build new living things. Our small jar demonstrated a huge concept: the constant flow of energy and matter that sustains all life on our planet. It's a beautiful and slightly mushy circle of life. So what was the science behind this leafy transformation? The main process at work is called decomposition. This is nature's way of breaking down dead organic things like leaves, plants, and animals. The real workers here are tiny living things called microorganisms. These include bacteria and fungi, like the mold we saw growing in the jar. They were already on the leaves when we collected them. Once sealed in the jar, these tiny decomposers got to work. They used the leaves as food, slowly eating away at them and breaking them down into simpler substances. 2 other key ingredients were moisture and oxygen. Remember the condensation on the inside of the jar? That was water being released from the leaves. This moisture is essential for the microorganisms. They need a damp environment to live and work, just like we need water to survive. Without it, the leaves would have just dried out and crumbled. There was also a limited amount of air trapped in the jar. The decomposers used the oxygen in that air to help break down the leaves more efficiently. This is why compost piles in gardens need to be turned, to let more air in. In our sealed jar, the decomposers eventually used up most of the oxygen. When the oxygen runs low, a different type of decomposition starts, called anaerobic decomposition. This process is much slower and is carried out by different kinds of bacteria that don't need oxygen. This is why after 100 days, we still had some recognizable bits, like tough stems. If we had left the jar open to the air, the process might have been faster. Our experiment showed a combination of both a fast, oxygen-fueled breakdown and a slower, oxygen-starved one. This simple jar experiment teaches us a huge lesson about our planet. It shows that there is no such thing as waste in nature. Everything is recycled. The nutrients locked inside a leaf are returned to the soil, where they can be taken up by the roots of a new plant. This cycle is what keeps forests healthy and allows new life to grow year after year. By watching our leaves turn to mush, we were watching the foundation of all life on land. It's a slow, steady, and essential process that happens every day, turning death back into life.